Well, there's a handful of I guess super producers in hip hop who are really like kind of household names like Timbaland and Kanye West and some other guys. But I wanted to ask you a question about this is a really small photo, but this is the iTunes photo for the Khaled track we've been playing. There's 7 vocalists on the track, but it's your music and you're not in the photo. Do you? I mean, I know that you're a pretty, a humble guy, but do you think that there's room for more recognition of the producer in hip hop at all?
I think the producer's taking a little bit too much from the artist. It's not about you.
Yeah.
It's not about me. It's about the artist, the record, the movement, or whatever. I can always, if I wanted to be out there or do something, I would do an album.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily have to feature on a track or be, have my name yelled out. When you open up the credits and you see, or you look on that Billboard #1 spot, that's all I'm looking for. As long as my name is in the writer's credit, I'm cool. Because the right people are going to see that.
Mm-hmm.
The people who are going to keep me working. The people who are going to call me and say, hey, we need a record. Mm-hmm. So it's not about, of course I want to cater to people who do know me. And, whatever fan base I may have, I would like to show myself or whatever and kind of let them in a little bit. But for the most part, it's like I said, it's not about the producer. It's about, the artist. And I actually picked that up from way before I got in with Tim, from Scott Storch, from how that was kind of his style of production when he was working on Beyonce at the time and Christina Aguilera at the time. So he just, dumbed it down, or even himself and his music for the artist to shine. And I kind of take that. That's what's more important. I like to do. I mean, I think my music speaks for itself. I don't have to say, hey, even though I have done it. I've spoken a couple of words here or there, mainly on the Britney record, but I don't have to.
Mm-hmm. Well, would you ever want to do your own album, if not for the recognition, then just to be the driving creative visionary behind like the whole production of an album?
Yeah, we talk about it all the time, different type of albums. Right now, I'm real hot and heavy on doing a dance album. I just want to do just all music, may have a hook or something like that, but just all music. Mm-hmm. So I want to do that. And, in my archive that never gets unlocked, there are skeletons that could really be really great songs that has my vocal on. One record that I did kind of sing a hook on was a Britney Spears record called Naked on the Blackout album. And that was just in the spur of the moment of being creative. It wasn't designed for me to be featured. That's why it's not saying featuring Danja. Mm-hmm. If I wanted that type of credit or recognition, I would have asked for it, but it was just being creative. If being creative and completing the song and taking the song where it needs to go, it requires me hopping on a record, then I would do that, but not just for my recognition. But definitely there's been talks amongst us and just people in my camp and my team about doing an album. It may be 2012 when that comes out. I don't know. But it is talks, just to get my creative rocks on.
Cool. All right. Well, I want to make sure everyone gets their questions in. You can ask him about this specific track or, his specific production, or you can ask basically just about anything. But let's shout out the question and try to get them answered. Back there first, plaid shirt.
If you could just talk about the relationship between the producer and the engineer, maybe how you met, how much responsibility is delegated to her, it's affected your production style over the last 5 years.
It's vital. I think it's vital. Period, with a producer and engineer. We met, of course, working with Tim. I always tell her how I first remember her. I came to the Hit Factory maybe a year before I started working with Tim, and she was working there already as an engineer or a GA. And I remember her pissed off carrying about 6 plastic bags of food. So, she was paying her dues at the time, and I came in, met Tim, and she was the general assistant for Tim, and Demo, his engineer. And how we started working together was, it would be me here, Tim here. Me and Tim worked side by side. Tim's engineer here, and her here. She would have her own Pro Tools set up, and it was a room half this size, with all of us in it. And Tim's the engineer here, and they working that. So we working like this, and I'm just tracking out beats and headphones with her. And eventually, we just started working on sessions together. One of my very first records ever. This record called Hands and Feet with Carrie on
It's in the mix. The Usher movie.
It's an Usher movie.
Yeah.
Soundtrack.
Yeah.
She mixed it. I just kind of always knew. I heard her rough mixes back then, and her rough just always sounded good. Like, I loved where the vocals were at, her blend. So I said, I know could be a mixer, or that's what she wanted to be. So I always would let her mix my records. But now, we've been working together for about 5 years now. Some of those tricks and slowdowns and reverses and stretchy stuff and all that stuff going on is her. It's not me. I can't, I can sit down and figure it out in 5 or 6 hours, but that's her. I kind of lay the skeleton, and she goes in, does her edits. She does what she hear. I kind of give her the freedom to work as a producer on my records, along with her mixing. But I think it's vital to have an engineer that you can communicate with, that understands your music and kind of understand what you're trying to do visually. Somebody that you just mesh with is key to me in the industry. I don't know too many engineer-producer duos, but I know one key was Timbaland and Jimmy Douglas. Jimmy Douglas just had his music smacking and popping in a way that probably nobody else could do. He just understood it, or just Tim loved it. But I think it's key to getting your thing off as a producer.
Yep, right there.
Some of these tracks,
They're recorded stereo. These are stems from the mix that I did, because the mix session is huge. But sometimes we do track things mono, depending on how we want to pan it. But for the most part, it comes out the MP stereo. Yeah.
Okay, right here.
Alright, what advice would you give an upcoming producer that wants to work under an established producer like yourself?
Trying to think of how I went to Tim. I mean, it's a lot of things, I guess. I can say, I'm going to just say it like this. From what I believe what Tim's seen in me, I think he's seen himself in me. But I wasn't doing what he was doing. I think he's seen how he could utilize me. So go to a producer with your style, with your sound, with your, you. I think that's what they will appreciate. Anybody at my level is always looking for the next or looking for the new. They're not looking for themselves. But, always stay humble. Not saying that you have to kiss ass or nothing like that. It's not about that at all. But just, stay humble and open and willing to learn and work hard. Like, I beat Tim to the studio every day. If we didn't leave at the same time, I left a little bit after him every day. I just show my hunger all the time, and he kind of anytime that I was just sitting around, he kind of understood that I was, burnt out at that point, and he's just like, I can dig it, and he'll just go off or whatever. But just stay hungry, stay humble, and focus, and come as you are, and you should be good.
Yeah, you actually met him a few times before he asked you to work together, right? Mm-hmm. So how did it actually? What was the scenario that you guys actually started working together?
He was working on an artist he just found named John Doe. He wanted me to work on this project. It was his artist, hip hop, and that was the first project he actually wanted me to work on. But before then, he heard my music. I was about 20 years old. I seen him at a Virginia music symposium, and he was just being Tim, and But then he seen me, shook my hand. He's like, "You hot," and that was all he said to me for the rest of the night. And I met him a little while later, maybe a week or so later. He talked to me for about 2 hours about what he'd seen or what he wanted to do and how he want to add me into his fold and bring me up and da. And it didn't happen right then, but a couple years later, we met again on his tour bus, and I played him some more tracks. He listened to like 3 seconds of every track. He didn't even listen to the track. He just was like, "Oh, I already know. Oh, that hot." Like 3 tracks, and like 3 or 4 tracks. Took the CD out. 6 months later, he brought me out to Miami, and the first project was, in fact, we worked on his bus. He had a studio on his bus, and we worked on his bus for John Doe. Mm-hmm. And from there, I was back and forth for a little bit. Then I ended up living with him in Miami and working every day.
Cool. So that's how you do it. Right over here.
Yeah, actually, this question is for both of you guys.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of, I'm pretty sure everyone want to know, but there's a lot of vocalists in here as myself, and we want to know, how do you feel about this auto-tune epidemic?
Auto-tune must die.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
We when it comes to auto-tune, it's very funny because and if you don't mind, I'll just speak on this real quick. But like it's an epidemic. It really is. Yeah. When vocalists come to work with us, automatically they're like, "Can you throw that tune on?" I'm like, "No, absolutely no." They hate me for it, but you know what it is? We bring the best out of them, And when on the Blackout album, I'm gonna speak on Britney. None of that was auto-tune. We passed, of course afterwards, we had to do a little bit here and there, but she sung like herself. None of it was passed through auto-tune, and we just brought the best vocal out of her, and that's just what we, expect from everybody that works with us. We don't settle easy. We just throw the tune on, and we'll be all right. We don't do that. I hate the way it sounds. It's just irritating, so I can't take it.
No tune. I can't stand it. I think vocalist, if you can really sing, there's no need for you to use auto-tune. Me as a producer, period, it's my job to sit there and make sure you get it right. So I'm not doing my job if I'm just throwing you through the auto-tune. It's really cheating. It's really cheating, and it's letting people who really who can sing become lazy, first of all, and people who really aren't that good
get away with it.
Really feeling like they can go.
Wait, you don't think Kid Rock can hit all the right notes?
I mean, look, at the end of the day, I can't say that. I don't like to record in auto-tune, but everybody, I'm sure, know Melodyne. So at the end of the day, we're gonna correct. If you just hit we're gonna get the best performance. At the end of the day, it's about your performance. Even if you flat, that's how I love Alicia Keys, but she's a performer. She don't hit every note. a lot of stuff is flat and sharp, but it's about how the feeling. And as a producer, you capture that, and with Melodyne, you can smooth that out, and it'll still sound natural, and it still sound real. You don't need auto-tune. When you singing through auto-tune, you cheating, and I hate when people record it to tape, and it sounds crazy. It's just high pitch and just I just can't stand it. But no auto-tune again.